Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, progress is a gradual series of adjustments towards perfection. Here's a key fact. Just let it grab me, your friend. Before we get started, do we need to turn this down a bit? Is it too imposing? Just a touch. There's a middle ground, just a touch. I just wanted, on behalf of the community, that was a fantastic festival yesterday. It was really nice. The prasadam was nice. Govardhana Hill was nice. The kirtans, the deities had a beautiful outfit. It was some from our congregational folks. Thanks, bro. Put up some nice lights on the front. It was just one of those days that everybody's all the cylinders are firing, as they say. So Balaramji arranged waves and waves of prasadam. There was almost too much prasadam, you know. Sao cooked a great feast. And it's such a blissful festival. Everyone, especially for the kids, they remember. It's like Halloween or something, you know, that there's sweets and exercise and you know, nice. So anyway, I just wanted to thank the devotees. Everybody pulled together, and it was a very nice event. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paskachada Satarani. So yesterday we were celebrating Govardhana Puja. And of course, you can't really have Govardhana Puja unless you have Govardhana Hill. So this is a little presentation about Govardhana Hill, which Prabhupada describes as Krishna's pastime and umbrella, lifting Govardhana Hill. Next. We got to be faster on the uptake, my friend. So this is a drone view of Govardhana Hill. Haridasa Varyadas, which means he's the best of the servants of Hari, Govardhana Hill. And I was listening to, because some places it says that Govardhana Hill, Krishna actually becomes the hill, and Govardhana Hill is Govardhana himself. And then sometimes, as is described here, he's the best of the servants of Govardhana. So this can appear to be a conundrum, as they say. Is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or is he a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Well, Indradumna Maharaj gives what I think is an excellent example. He says you have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the mood of he's Radha and Krishna combined. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And other times, he's a devotee. He's in the mood of a devotee. So just as you have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes in the role of a devotee, sometimes in the role of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the same way you have Govardhana Hill in these dual leelas. Prabhupada said, as soon as you accept the mystic potency of the Supreme Lord, all things become possible. You know, we're trying to squeeze everything within our three-dimensional, if you add time, fourth-dimensional brain. We're trying to squeeze everything in this little box, and it just doesn't fit. There's a whole lot more going on there. Like you said, you know what they used to say, you blew my mind? Well, yeah, the spiritual world blows the doors off all the dimensions. Krishna's amazing. So this is because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never went to the top of the hill. We don't actually touch Govardhana Hill with our feet. We don't, the six Goswamis, they never walked on Govardhana Hill. We'll get there later on, how they got darshan of the Gopal deity. So, thanks. So this is another panoramic, because we can't walk there. This is a Deva's view, panoramic These drones come in handy. So this is a drone picture of Govardhana Hill. It's just, wait till I say next. I mean, I appreciate the enthusiasm. Okay, next. So what is the origin of Govardhana Hill? So Radharani asked Krishna to create a special place for their pastimes. And out of his love for Srimati Radharani, out of his heart, Govardhan manifest. And that's from the Garga Upanishad. It's from the writing of the Goswamis, the Garga Samhita. So many places say this, that actually Govardhan Hill is the desire for Radharani for some special place, and out of his heart, Krishna manifest Govardhan Hill. Of course, there's also some history. Next. So Govardhan Hill is Krishna's gift to Srimati Radharani. Next. Radharani was not happy to come to this material world. Krishna said, I'm going. And he wanted Radharani to come. You have Goloka and you have Gokula. But Radharani didn't want to come. So she said, I didn't want to come without Brajabhumi. And Brajabhumi, of course, the essence, one of the key features of Brajabhumi is Govardhan Hill. So how did Govardhan, just like when Krishna comes, so many people come beforehand, the Devas come to take up different roles, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so many, the Lord Brahma comes as Haridas, there's so many different things happen to set the stage. So Govardhan Hill, to set the stage for the appearance of Radha and Krishna, of course they're eternally existing there, how did Govardhan Hill appear? And Govardhan appeared, he was the son of the king of the Himalayas. Now, Palasta Muni, this is a picture. I actually found a picture of this is Palasta Muni here, a painting of him. And he liked his ashram very much. It had clean river. It had nice fruits and flowers. It was peaceful. It had all, but there was something missing. Nice if there's a little topography. There's one nice hill. So he wanted a hill. So he'd heard about Govardhan. He went to the Himalayas, to the king of the Himalayan mountains, Himalaya, a cold place is what it means. And he asked, can I have your son? Now, Govardhan wasn't wild to go, but he agreed. So, but he made a deal. Anyone know what the deal was with Palasta Muni? You can carry me by your mystic power, but wherever you put me down, I'm staying. I'm not moving. So, of course, this is all Leela with a purpose. Krishna doesn't, one of Krishna's names, which I can't remember, maybe Travidapa remembers, but he doesn't work in a straight way. He doesn't stand in a straight way. He doesn't speak in a straight way. Krishna likes elliptical, you have to think a little bit. What does he actually mean, And he doesn't act always in a straight way. He moves curved like the movements of a snake. I think that's from Vallabhacharya, but I'll have to think about it. But Krishna stands in a curved way, speaks in a curved way, and acts in a curved way. So he has his pastimes. They don't always go in a straight line. There's fun, there's a surprise, there's suspense, everything's there. So somehow or other, when they were over Vrindavan, I got to remember, Palasta Muni, he's traveling, he's carrying Govardhan Hill, flying in space to his ashram in South India. So obviously he's a great yogi. Somehow or other, he became overwhelmed with the urge to pass water. He had to, what they say, the call of nature. One of the greatest forces in the world. So he had to pass water. So he, in the urgency of the moment, he put the hill down, did his business, and then Govardhan wouldn't get up. And even though that was the deal, he was so angry, he cursed Govardhan Hill to shrink 1 mustard seed a day. Now, our Sariputta Prabhu, who's, if you look up analytical mind, you'll see a picture of Sariputta there. So he, not one to take things lightly, he was in the kitchen one day, and I saw him, and he had a string of mustard seeds. Those brown mustard seeds, yellow, brown, they're the same size. These happen to be brown or red, whatever they are. And he was measuring, and he measured how many mustard seeds it takes to make an inch. And then you could calculate so many days. You go back 5,000 years and you've got an inch, and then so many make a foot, so many make. And he calculated that Govardhana Hill, based on shrinking one mustard seed a day over 5,000 years, is between 10 and 15 miles high. So it gives you an idea of Govardhana Hill. Next. So one could say, how can a rishi? We just read that Govardhana Hill is the best of the Vaishnavas, the best of the servants of Krishna. Does anyone know one of the measures? Of course, the Govardhana Hill provides nice caves. Prabhupada describes, and Rupa Goswami confirms, of course, or Prabhupada gets it from Rupa Goswami, that in hot weather, the stones on Govardhana Hill are nice and cool. And when it's a little cold on Govardhana Hill, the stones become nice and warm. So it's got climate control. Govardhana Hill does everything. Nice, tasty vegetables, fruits, roots, so many different things. There's different types of rivers of beverages. There's nice, fresh spray. Forget Perrier or San Pellegrino. There's the best crystal clear water, but there's also rivers of mango and what is it? Pilu juice. We were just reading the other day. So many things. Which Pilu juice is sweet, but it's a little peppery. It's a little tangy too, you know. It's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So one can ask, well, Govardhana Hill. And so I was going to ask, what is another? Provides nice grass for the cows and but what the secret to Govardhana Hill being the best of all of Krishna's servants is because he's completely absorbed in serving the devotees. And what is it? Krishna says, one who claims to be my devotee is not my devotee, but a devotee of my devotee. He is my devotee. He or she is my devotee. So we have that example from Govardhana Hill, how nicely Govardhana Hill is serving the devotees. So one can ask, of course you probably read the answer, that how can Govardhana Hill be shrinking? So for those in the ether world, how can Govardhana Hill be shrinking? How can a mundane yogi curse a great devotee? We have Devarsa Muni and we have Ambarish Maharaj. So the real Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami answers this question for us. He says, actually, Govardhana Hill is shrinking out of separation from Krishna's pastimes. Next. In case that you were ever puzzling over that. So here's just a picture. You know, kids, when their parents are there, parents, stand here, do this, do that, don't do that, and they're controlled. They're like a puppets, like a Gumby toy. Wear this, stand, all the whole thing, I asked the kid one time, he had red shoes. I said, where'd you get those red shoes? He said, I don't know. My mom put them on me. They whatever, the shirt, whatever they're wearing, they're just like surrendered, But if I'm sure certainly boys, and I imagine girls also, when you get a Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, quoting Jiva Goswami, he says that when Krishna's going to the pasturing field, we've seen that picture, that Krishna's being decorated. He's bathed, and Mother Yasoda is just fixing him up, and the different cowherd boys are giving jewels. Oh, try this. Oh, put this on him, and Krishna's tapping him with a flute. No, I don't want that one. I want those, So they're all getting Krishna dressed, right? So they get Krishna all dressed, and he goes out, and Mother Yasoda, he gets about 100 yards. And Mother says, wait. And she comes and she fixes his turban and puts a little flower in there. And then he gets another 100 feet. She says, wait. And he, puts a dhoti and puts another string of pearls on it. So he can't get away, And then finally he says, Mata, you're done. I'm going, And then she's, Mother Yasoda, you can imagine the gopis, and off Krishna goes into the forest. So there's a moment when they enter into the forest with the cows or the calves, and this, because they're younger this time, and the calves, and later on with the cows, that there's no parents around, there's no adults, and they're just yahoo, they're kids, and they just off they go into their blissful leela. So here's that, they're just about to get away from the parents, and they can manifest their full frolics. Next. So Govardhana Hill serves as a Krishna and the cowherd boys as a playground. It has caves, it's this. Of course, this is on the Jamuna. But anyway, there's trees with forts in them and ropes they can swing on. It's just got everything. There's trees that have branches, and you can go out. Jiva Goswami describes you can go out on those branches, and the boys jump like a diving board into the nice, beautiful kund. I mean, just obviously beyond our imagination. Next. So they have so many pastimes. This is Krishna snatching Madhu Mangala's lunch bag. And particularly Madhu Mangala, because what is Madhu Mangala? Particularly, he has a nice, because this picture he's a little lean, but actually he's a little fat. And he loves, in particular, he loves sweets. So, to snatch his lunch bag, this is a big issue. And they're tossing it from boy to boy and so many things. Next. And then they're sitting, Govardhan, this is from the Bhagavatam 10th canto. Govardhan Hill supplies all kinds of necessities. Water for drinking, very soft grasses, caves, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. Next. This is what we're actually looking for. This is the, they say something, you just didn't quite hit the spot. Everything in this material it gets close for one flickering moment, maybe. And there's always the angst interwoven in it, it's going to leave at any moment, So first off, material nature never satisfies. And even if whatever satisfaction it gets, it's a very tottering platform, like Govinda Das, like the water on the lotus leaf, But this is completely constant, ever-increasing happiness. So there's nice caves. Their stones are cool in the summer, warm in the winter. So this is a picture of one of the caves on Govardhan Hill. Rupa Goswami lived in one of these caves on Govardhan Hill for some time. This is Bhajan Kutir. They're nice and cool inside. Next. So we know the storyline, but just we're going to do a nod to the storyline. Here's Krishna requesting Nanda Maharaj, why are we doing this? Prabhupada says if you're going to perform some action in knowledge and action without knowledge, there's two different results. And I was listening to a tape, and we all know the story, but Prabhupada tells it, that there was all the Brahmins are lined up on the river, and they all do their puja to Mother Ganga or Mother Jamuna, whatever the Kaveri, whatever the holy river, and then they take a dip. But if you see like at, at Varanasi, there'll be 100 Brahmins there lined up, So they would sometimes get their arti trays mixed up. They all got the same puja thing, they get them mixed up. So one Brahmin had the bright idea that he took a little clay ball, made a little ball out of clay, and put it on his tray. That would mark his tray. And he went down and offered his obeisances and said his gayatri and came back, and all the other trays had a ball of clay on them. Because they thought, this pandit must have read in some samhita that you have to put a ball. So they all put a ball on the. So no, what is it? To abandon the rules and regulation, niyamagraha, to give up or to blindly follow. So Krishna's like, what's going on? Why are we doing this? What's the benefit? Of course, we know where this goes. Next. So this is gives you a feeling of what it must have been like in Vrindavan. When they see all these clouds coming, the wrath of Indra, mountains and thunderbolts are perennial enemies. Oh, mountains and thunderbolts are perennial enemies, because the thunderbolts are always striking and the mountains are stopping the clouds. So there's always some natural friction between mountains and lightning bolts. Mountains usually lose. Yeah, usually because they're broken to pieces. They're smashed by the thunderbolts. But in this case, Govardhan Hill wins. Devotees are victorious by Krishna's grace. So you can just meditate on what it must have been like. It's a little sample here. It's described that the clouds, they were black, they were gray, they were light blue, and they were dark blue. So that was the array of the different colors of the clouds. And you get a little feel of the different colors of the clouds. Okay, next. So lifting little finger of his left hand. And again, as I was saying last night, people don't actually think it through. Think it through. If you accept that there's God and he's but he can't be a small boy in Vrindavan. This is anthropomorphism. This is wishful thinking, awe and reverence. Prabhupada said that Vishnu, Narayan, is God in the office. And Krishna in Vrindavan is God at home. Somebody asked him the difference. What's it? Narayan and Krishna, what's the difference? So Narayan, Vishnu, awe and reverence, God in the office. And God at home, at home, people take their shoes off, put their feet up, they joke with their friends. So Krishna at home, God at home, that's Vrindavan. So Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, like I was saying, be consistent. If he can float on unlimited planets, but he can't lift Govardhana Hill, why? Make that case for me. You can't do it. Next. So the Brajvasi's only shelter is Krishna. So I think I was explaining the other day that the Sudarshan Chakra, it evaporates because you wonder about the water running off the hill. Well, what's up? Well, the Sudarshan Chakra is there, and the Seshanaga is coiled to make a nice dike to protect them. Next. Oh, so go back. You see Indra here? And I don't think I finished it yesterday, but Prabhupada makes the point. Indra came just to supervise how everything was going and to finish off if there was any problems. He was going to come with his thunderbolts. And the residents of Braj saw him coming, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. He tried to raise his hand to throw a thunderbolt. Not only could he not lift his hand, he could not move any of his limbs. All he could do was tell his elephant to retreat. And Prabhupada makes the point that actually everything we do is going on by the mercy of Krishna. We don't even know how our hair is growing, how we swallow, how our food's digested. Prabhupada said what happens is we have a desire. All the living entity can do is desire. And they've done studies that there's a multi-millisecond lapse between the desire and the activity being performed. I want to pick this up. So there's the desire and there's a lapse. Now that lapse you can say, well, it's and it's minuscule, whatever it is. But okay, the thoughts got to go to the brain, the brain's got to tell the muscles, there's that. But what actually is happening is that we desire, and then Krishna enables it to happen. Krishna, as the super soul, tells everything what to happen. All the living entities, we can't do anything. All we can do is desire. So here we see, as soon as Krishna withdrew the power, Indra, king of heaven, couldn't do a thing, couldn't even lift his hand. Next. Of course, when he put the hill down, there was an argument, who was holding up Govardhana Hill? So the coward, Krishna said, okay, you can all go out, I'm going to put the hill down. And the Gopas said, no, you go out. We've been holding the hill with our stick. You go. So Krishna gave them just a taste of what the weight of the hill. It knocked them all over and knocked them out. They were all spread on the ground. And they of course appreciated Krishna, but they were a little complaining. They were saying, you should have given us more warning what was going to happen here. We didn't quite expect it to happen like that. So. Okay, next. Oh, Chatur Bhog. So, Krishna's under the hill for 7. If you go to India, and even they have restaurants, you see signs, Chapan Bhog, which means that restaurant will serve 56 offerings. So where does this 50, and there's those wonderful pictures of temples, especially in Jaipur, when they're offering Govindaji, Rupa Goswami's Govinda, they're offering 56 offerings. So why this number, Jagannath, so why this 56 offerings? Because Krishna was under the hill for 7 days. And Mother Yasoda couldn't feed him. He wasn't able to eat. So she was in big anxiety. So she was cooking for him. So I forget whether it's 7 times a day or 6 times. You take 7 days and 6 offerings a day, and you take it winds up being 56 times. So Chapan Bhoga actually comes when Mother Yasoda was feeding Krishna under Govardhana Hill. And anxiety, he's got to keep his strength up, right? He's holding up that hill. We got to feed him. So next. Oh, here it is. Held the hill for 7 days. Yasoda feeding 8 times a day. Chapan Bhog, 56 offerings he missed. So this is, this is in Hungary. This is Radhashama Sundar at our farm, Krishna farm. Okay, next. And turn back, click back. Everything on this, Shivaram Maharaj was telling me, everything here, except for the rice and some of the spices, was grown on their farm. Pretty far out, huh? Oh, we're living unfinished. Go next. And this is Govardhana Hill in Vrindavan. And just to get the specs, here's a, close to 6-foot man, and here's Govardhan Hill. And he looks well fed, doesn't he? Aniyor, give me more. Next. So Indra begs for forgiveness. And I said, anyone remember yesterday, was Krishna, was it a struggle of mights that Krishna wanted to prove that he was Ishvara Parama Krishna, and therefore he wanted to put Indra in his place? Was that Krishna's motive? Why did Krishna shame and chagrin and put Indra in his place? Anyone want to say? Yeah. Because he cared about it. He was a devotee. So Krishna cut down his pride. Pride goes before a fall. Pride causes so many problems. Prabhupada said, Prabhu, sometimes we hear people say, Prabhu, which means master. Prabhu, come shine my shoes. So this is not the mood of a Vaishnava. So this is the footprint you can see on Govardhan Hill. This is the footprint of Indra's elephant. Okay, next. So here's making the point. Mundane pride is a great, just taking that theme of Indra, it's a great burden to carry. Yeah, you have to try to maintain your position. Who are we? Probably being kicked by a football. What's the time? As a sidelight, Prabhupada used to play soccer, or they called it, everywhere else they called it football. Do you know what position on the team Prabhupada liked to play? Dravida. Goalie. Why goalie? He didn't want to run around so much. Even then, Prabhupada had a keen intelligence, why run so hard? It's a key position also, So, trying to maintain the false ego, it's like it's an artificial thing. Who was that guy, the Shah of Iran, for his coronation out in the middle of the desert, spent this, it's one of the things that led to the revolution. They threw the guy out because he spent like $500 million on a party in the middle of the desert, because it's where the capital of Persia used to be, and he was coming in the Persian line. So and he invited all the glitterati of the world, all the different Prince Charles, Queen Elizabeth, whatever. They all came to this party in the desert. And they were getting ice cream and air conditioning. And so to create, they had to fly trees in from Turkey, and it cost it was completely artificial. And the ACs blew out and the ice cream melted and the it was just an absolute $400 million disaster. So, so it's artificial to maintain an artificial situation. So to maintain that we're big and important and I'm in control, it's just such a burden, because you're completely swimming against the stream. So, and it leads to offenses. Okay, next. So Sarabi Kunj, this is a picture of Sarabi Kunj. Needs some repair work if anyone becomes a millionaire. No, it's so many things they need repair. Pray to have our pride reduced. So when you're going around Govardhan Hill, there's just like Govardhan gives so many different things, grasses, fruits, this. Govardhan Hill also gives benedictions. When you go around on Parikrama on Govardhan Hill, you pray for these different things. It's like a portal opens up and the mercy just pours down through that space, through the time-space continuum. So at Sarabi Kunj, this is where Indra offered his prayers and Krishna forgave him, we can pray that please reduce my pride and let me just be happy serving, simply serving. So that's one of the benedictions of Sarabi Kunj. Next. So this is Govardhan Hills. To this day, this is how the self-realized persons see it. Next. Oh, Radha Krishna, you have surveillance and these drones that are scoping everything. You got satellites in the sky that can tell what everybody's doing. So Jiva Goswami describes that Radharani has her own air force. And Dinu Bandhu, and I remember I first went to Vrindavan in 1973. And they used to have, now you see the green parrots, which are blissful in and of themselves. But there used to be yellow parrots, red parrots, and blue parrots. And if you go out to Brindakund, sometimes you can see the blue and sometimes you can see the red. But just imagine all those different colors of parrots. And Radharani has her own fleet. And Krishna has his own fleet of parrots. And they're scoping, because sometimes Krishna ambushes the gopis and charges them attacks. Well, it doesn't just stop there. Radharani, they also, in the gopis, they attack Krishna and trap him and make him pay a fee. I mean, it's as Prabhupada would say, reciprocal. it's all going on. So Radharani always knows where Krishna is, and Krishna always knows Radharani, and suddenly they got all kinds of subterfuge going on, and so and those different fleets of parrots are flying over Govardhana Hill, reporting back to Krishna and Radharani what's going on. Next. So this is the parikram path, the path back to Godhead. Next. So our Balaram's going to Govardhana Hill. You can offer some prayers for all of us at Govardhana Hill, because it works. And it's a time for prayer and contemplation. Next. And you're never alone. Here's our little furry friends. And this guy's in a bad mood about something, And look at those teeth. Yeah, you don't mess with them. They're not, you're never alone, and they are not friendly. Next. And these are some other residents. It's called a blue deer. And it's kind of a grayish blue sheen. And there's different types of cows and so many entities, the residents of Govardhana Hill. Next. And there's all kinds of different, it's full of, as I was saying yesterday, all the major tirtha places in India have their place on Govardhana Hill. Simply by going around Govardhana Hill and offering your respects, you visited all the main holy places in India. All the Kedarnath, Badrinath, Kailash, all the mountains, everything's there on Govardhana Hill. Next. Here's Lord Chaitanya embracing Govardhana Hill. This is just like we have Prabhupada's footprints, these are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's footprints. And you can see a similar one, that was a cast that was made by one of the Goswamis, I forget who, at that Vrindavan Institute. You can see the impressions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. Yeah, that Vrindavan Institute's got a lot going on, actually. Next. Kusum Sarovar. Now, Kusum means flower. And this is where the gopis used to go to, under the subterfuge that they were picking flowers for worshiping the sun god. It's where they actually used to rendezvous with Krishna and the gopis. And they had so many water pastimes here. This is where Narada Muni, who wanted to see the Ras Leela, he took a dip in Kusum Sarovara and came out as a gopi and was able to see the Ras Leela. Next. Here it says he was transformed into a gopi to observe the pastimes in that Kusum Sarovar. Next. This is also a place where Krishna's combing Radharani's hair, but actually Radharani's looking at Krishna. See, she's got a mirror here, and she's actually meditating on Krishna's beautiful face. So this pastime of him combing Radharani's hair and decorating it with nice flowers and everything, that happened at Kusum Sarovar. Next. This is Manasi Ganga. Now, this is different than when he killed Aristasura. That's another pastime. But this is the Vatasura, who was in the form of, I thought he was he's a calf. It says calf? Anyway, we'll figure that out later on. But this is Manasi Ganga, because the Gopas, the cowherd boys, said, if you want to, you're contaminated, you killed a cow. So you got to go bathe in the Ganga. And the Ganga is how many miles? It's flowing there, and it's like a couple 100 miles. Easy, isn't it? From Vrindavan? Yes. Okay. So outside of the grammatical, was he in the form of a bull or a calf? Okay, so if you want to play with us, you got to go purify yourself. So Krishna didn't want it. Manasi Ganga means it came out of the mind of Krishna. The Ganga manifest. Next. Well, maybe this is Krishna's trickery. Again, he's always up to some kind of transcendental shenanigans. The residents of Vrindavan heard the glories of the Ganga and they wanted to go. So here's the origin. Just like Govardhana Hill has several different ways it manifests, Radharani has different ways that she appears. So there's different leelas, different manifestations, different times. They do things in different ways. So one is to bathe in the Ganga and be purified. Krishna meditated and Manasa Ganga appeared. So also, here's another time, all the residents of Vrindavan heard the glories of the Ganga and they wanted to go. But Krishna said, Ganga is here in Govardhan. The Brajbasis doubted it, but they went to Manasi Ganga just to please Krishna. All right, we're not going to, because Krishna wants us to do it. And just to confirm, Mother Ganga manifests from Manasi Ganga and offered her prayers to Krishna. So then they had full faith that Manasi Ganga is actually Mother Ganga, because she came right out of it. Next. Oh, Sanatana Goswami, he was meditating. Well, maybe I don't want to say that because I think that's later on. There's a place called Shiva Chakra where Lord Shiva used to meditate at Manasi Ganga on the pastimes of Radha and Krishna eons ago. So Sanatana Goswami was meditating there, but he was bothered by the mosquitoes. So he was going to move to somewhere else. And Krishna and Lord Shiva came and said, no, you're greatest of Vaishnavas, you're meditating in my place. How would we feel? There was some saintly person staying in our house. We'd be so happy, So he said, no, I'll take care of it. And even to this day, you can go there at night and there's no mosquitoes in that one little spot. So, and Sanatana, how did it work? Rupa Goswami was describing that Radharani, her braid is like a beautiful curved black snake. Now the Goswamis used to exchange their literature because you write, you need an editor. You need someone else who will see it from a different eye, You want to make sure it's clear to the reader. So they would exchange their literature and different editors. Gopal Bhatta Goswami was the editor for the Sat Sandarbha by Jiva Goswami. He also edited the Hari Bhakti Vilas by Rupa Sanatana Goswami. So many things. He also helped editing the Nectar of Devotion. So our Dravida Prabhu is falling in this line. Yeah. So Rupa Goswami had written an analogy in one of his books that Radharani's braid is like a nice black snake. And Sanatana Goswami didn't like that. He said, she's gentle, sweet, young girl, and she's got a black snake. This is Ras Bas. I don't like this. So Rupa Goswami said, okay, I'll take it out. Later on, Sanatana Goswami is meditating at Manasi Ganga. And across the Kund, he sees these beautiful group of young girls. He'd never seen them before. They were very beautiful, very laughing and joking. And obviously there was one girl, the most beautiful, at the center of the group. And all the others were serving her. And they all went for a dip. And they all came out laughing. And when they came out, he saw a black snake climbing up the back of that center, the youngest girl. So he was yelling, snake, snake, snake. And the girl looked at him, laughed, disappeared. It was Srimati Radharani. So he ran to Rupa Goswami and said, put it back in. She likes it. I put it back in. She likes it. So although the Goswamis were always saying, where are you, Radha? Where are you, Krishna? You're on the banks of the Jamuna. But they were getting punctuated interventions that they would meet, Anyway, there's so many. So let's go. Next. So this is a pastime. The gopis needed to sail across Manasagangi because they had all their milk sweets and yogurt and everything, and they were going towards Mathura to sell it. So they got to Manasiganga. There's no boatmen. There's just this one ratty boat and torn clothing, and he was half asleep. Lalita had to bang on the boat to wake him up. So we want to go across. Oh, I'm too tired. I don't want to go. But he was the only boat. So finally they convinced him. So it's a whole story. They get out to the middle of the river. He says, oh, I'm so tired. I can't row any further. They're stuck in the middle with this lazy boatman. And he won't go any further. He says, oh, you need to give me some sweets. So he eats half their sweets to get his energy back, Then he starts rowing, and the boat's so rickety, it starts to sink. So he says, well, you gotta throw out your ballast, as ballast, as weight. You got to throw out all the sweets and all the yogurt. Then he tells me you got to throw all your jewelry or the boat will swing. Then he says you have to throw out your clothing. At which point Vishaka said, we're going to throw you out of the boat. That's how we're going to get rid of the ballast. So then a storm came and, and Radharani, I'll use another, I have to add this picture. So Radharani, you can see they're a little suspicious about this boatman, He says, something just doesn't add up here, So when the boat's sinking and the storm's coming, out of fear, Radharani grabbed the boatman, for security. It's in the stabilize there in the boat. And when she grabbed him, what did she feel? No, okay, ecstasy. But what object did she touch? She said, wait a minute. So she pulled out Krishna. Everyone enjoyed it, So then everything calmed down. It turned into a beautiful jeweled boat, and they were sailing around Manasagangi. So it's just a sample of what's happening on Govardhana Hill, if we have the eyes to see. Next. Okay, that I told. Next. Oh, here they are rocking the boat. Next. And then it turned into smooth, sweet sailing after all the drama. Next. So there's a beautiful deity called, this is him. This is Haridev. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had darshan of Haridev. The 6 Goswamis had darshan of Haridev. Now Haridev is a self-manifest deity. When the gopis in ecstasy of separation, calling out for Krishna, when are they going to meet Krishna? When is Krishna to come? Calling out Haridev, Haridev. This deity, self-manifest deity manifests. This is the deity of Haridev. And this is next. This is a picture of Haridev temple. It was built by Rajpat Bhagwan Singh, the father of Raj Singh. This is from Jaipur. There's so many pastimes of course they saved the deities of Vrindavan with Aurangzeb attacks. So many. There was a real ras between the kings of Jaipur and Vrindavan. So he built this temple. The father of Man Singh, we'll hear about Man Singh when we talk about the Govinda temple some other time. But the father of Man Singh was one of the 9 jewels in Akbar's court. One was Birbal, who was his prime minister, and Prabhupada tells so many stories about Birbal. Another was Tansin, who could play a raga to Agni, and things would start to burst into flame. And the Portuguese ambassador to Akbar's court writes it down. Now, they accept his writings about, how much grain there was and what the population of the city was and who was fighting with who and who was the king. All of that, different kings and different empires, and all of that is accurate history. It's accepted as history. The same person, he spent, I think, 6 years in Akbar's court. He explained that that Tansin, a musician, he would be playing a raga for Agni, and things would burst into flames. He'd immediately switch into a raga for Indra, and it would rain and put out the fire. So so these are Man Singh was his general, conquered all of India except for a little bit of the South India, and for anyway, it's another story. We'll get to history some other time. So his father, Man Singh's father, Bhagwan Singh, built this beautiful temple. And this you can read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Lord Chaitanya visits and dances in ecstasy. And we can also go there and dance in ecstasy. Next, and see Haridev. So this is, who was, I think, Balaram was talking about it yesterday. Remember that Tamal Krishna Goswami, he took a Shila without asking permission, big Shila. And if you take a Shila without the permission of a Brajbasi giving it to you, then you have to replace it with its weight in gold. So he said he never, he didn't have, but he had to this is the palace of the Maharaj of Bharatpur. And Giriraj Maharaj and Tamal Krishna Maharaj completely restored it. And it cost a ton of money. So the Govardhana Hill got his gold back. And I saw this before they renovated it. It was literally a pile of bricks. There was no roof. Some of the walls were only about this high. There was no plaza. It was just a pile of bricks. But it's right on the Parikram path. It's a fantastic, beautiful views. So as a service to the Vaishnavas, Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Giriraj Maharaj purchased it. And with their site manager was Keshava Bharati Maharaj, and it's just beautiful. This is where Vaisheshika Prabhu is right now, on his retreat, writing retreat. They give courses there. It's It's a wonderful mystical place. Next. And when they were doing the construction, they found a rare Krishna and Balaram Shila. This is Balaram because he's light color, and this is Krishna Shila. These two Shilas were discovered in the course of the renovation, which confirmed auspicious, most auspicious. Next. There's also a swing there. This swing it commemorates a pastime. This is when oh, that's not a swing. It's a scale. It's a scale for weighing. So Krishna would, I was saying how Krishna would block the gopis. Sometimes the gopis would block Krishna. So Krishna blocked the gopis here and said, we're going to charge you a tax. My father's the king of Braj. I'm his son. I'm the prince. We're going to charge you a tax. And the gopis' answer says right here, says, our Nanda Baba was very wise. He would never, they didn't pay it. It's a whole story. Because they said, we don't believe you. Nanda Baba is very wise. He would not install a thief like you as a tax collector. Because Krishna's famous as a thief. Prabhupada says he steals the gopis' clothing, he steals butter, and he steals everyone's heart. So Nanda Maharaj would not put him in charge. Next. This happens so many times. Here you see, this is another place that Krishna blocked a path. Next, because I'm looking at the time, we better roll. This is the original temple of Gopal Raj. This is the original Gopal deity described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, discovered by Madhavinda Puri. So the actual deity is no longer there. Any Gujarati house, pious Gujarati house, they have those murtis of Srinathji. They have a picture of Srinathji. Srinathji is Gopal. He's our Gopal. Prabhupada said we can bring lawsuit and get him back. And then Prabhupada left. He said actually they worship him very nicely in Natwar. But when Aurangzeb attacked the temples, it's a whole story. It took 50 years. They moved him to different villages at Olto, and he was there in Natwar. So this is the original temple. This is where, next. So Madhavinda Puri reinstalled Srinath. The original Gopal deity was installed by Krishna's great-grandson, Brajnabha. All the different pastimes under, I think it was Uddhava, and who else was telling him how to carve the deities so they looked exactly like Krishna. So there it is. Next. We'll move a little quickly. And this is where Madhavinda Puri on Govardhana Hill, at the base of Govardhana, found Sri Gopal. And he's in the mood of, he's lifting Govardhana Hill. There's all kinds of things happening in this base relief around. This is Seshanaga. You've got two parrots that represent Sukadev Goswami. It's a whole thing. You can see if you go to Natwar. It's unbelievable. Next. Oh, this is Natwar. It's not designed like a temple. It's designed as a Haveli, or like Nanda Maharaj's palace. And before Mangalartik, they do Hare Krishna, just like we do Hari Ram. They do Parikram all around the temple, starting at 4:30 in the morning. Then 5 o'clock, they have Arti. Blissful crowd, super enthusiastic. And then everybody just disappears. I was thinking, where do they go? Because they all go to do seva. Somewhere they're chopping vegetables. You got another group chopping wood. Everybody breaks into it because it's a huge complex, and they all go do some service, and then they go home. They have a well of ghee, a whole well full of ghee. I was there visiting, and it's a train, train line is going through. A train pulled in. There was a compartment completely full of ghee, containers of ghee. And the only note was, from Srinathji to Srinathji. Some Gujarati businessman had made a ton of money and realized it was only by the mercy of Krishna, and just had a whole railway cart full of ghee. They have a wall they can show, Mother Yasoda, to get the right milk, because she was worried about Krishna going bad, becoming a delinquent, because he was stealing. So she thought, if I make first-class sweets, he won't steal. And first-class sweets, you need first-class milk. And to have first-class milk, you got to have first-class grass coming from Govardhana Hill. So those cows, Mother Yasoda's cows, they have the lineage. Just like you go to those old Rajasthani Kshatriya kings, those old princes, like the The man who did all the marble work, C.V. Singh, the marble king, it's a whole story. His family fought the Mughals, they fought the Muslims, and they were banished to the deserts of Rajasthan. Turns out they're on Makrana, where all the best stock of white marble in the world, better than Italian marble, black marble, they're on top of it. So he's the main, and all the marble for our Juhu temple, for our Mayapur temple, for our Vrindavan temple. CVA, he's passed away now, but he was a devotee. He was a really nice person. And if you stayed in it was an old palace, and you stayed there, he had a whole wall that could show his lineage going all the way back to Bhardraj, the Muni, thousands of years. So similarly, when you go to Natwar, if you ever go there in Rajasthan, they have a whole wall that shows the lineage of the current cows all the way back to Mother Yasoda's cows. It's a very blissful place. Next. So Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis had darshan of Sri Gopal. You can read it in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was some false rumor. Oh, the Turkish soldiers are coming. They're going to raid so they hid the deity in Mathura. So for 1 month, Bhugarva Goswami, the six Goswamis, Lokanath Goswami, they all went to Mathura for a month and had darshan of Gopal. Next. He also came down off the hill so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could see him. This is where Uddhava delivered Krishna's message to the gopis. Next. Of course, you know that message. This is Vipralamba, the ecstasy of separation. Here's Radharani in madness talking to the bee. Next. This is Radhakund. This is Radhakund on this side. This is Shamakund. Next. Of course, you know that Krishna killed a bull, Aristasura, so they said, you've got to bathe. And because Krishna pulled that trick of Manasi Ganga, they said, well, this time we're going to make it a little harder. You have to bathe in all 7 holy rivers simultaneously. And now we got him. So what did Krishna do? Just stamped his foot. It made a beautiful kund, Shamakund. Ever got that right? Forget which one. Stamped his foot, and then all the holy rivers personified came out and offered prayers and turned into water, and then Krishna bathed. So the gopis then said, all right. So Krishna said, now we can play. And it's sport in the water. Radharani said, no, your kund is spoiled now. It's full of all the sinful reaction. We're going to make our own kund. So they made Radhakund. So that's the original kunds. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Vrindavan, all that was remaining was just a small pond, whatever it is, in 2 ponds in a rice field, because Mahaprabhu could understand it. We'll get there in a second. So next. So that I just told the story. Next. Oh. Well, I guess we'll get there. When Mahaprabhu left this world, Raghunath Das decided to end his life by jumping off Govardhana Hill. He couldn't bear the separation. But he first offered, so he traveled to Vrindavan to jump off Govardhana Hill. He left Jagannath Puri after Mahaprabhu, and he was going to jump. But first he offered his respects to Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, and they convinced him to live on by taking shelter. Some other time, remind me to tell you the story I heard from Indradumna Maharaj about Rupa Goswami's ecstasy of separation. It's so great, I don't want to tell it short. But Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami were also feeling deep separation from Mahaprabhu. So they could commiserate with Raghunath Das Goswami, but they convinced him, no, better to serve. So next. So we're describing Radhakund. We're going to just zip through these. You can read them in the Upadeshamrita. Next. Next. So as it says, it was just 2 ponds in a paddy field. So Raghunath Das, with spirit, he was our Rasika guru. Sanatana Goswami is Sambandha, Rupa Goswami is Abhideya, and Raghunath is our Rasika guru. So as all the Goswamis, he could see this place. So he was meditating there, and tigers would sometimes drink. Next. It's described that he was so much in ecstasy, he would just sit in the sun all by himself. So Srimati Radharani would come and hold her sari over him for protection. And he was meditating at the bank of the Kund. Wild tigers would come. So Krishna would come with a stick and scare off the tigers. So Sanatana Goswami came to visit, and he saw, what is this? Did he think, oh, you're saying Radha, you're saying Krishna, you've reached the greatest? No, he chastised him. You're sitting here chanting Hare Krishna. Oh, Krishna, may I serve you? And Hare is Radharani. And here you are, you're making them serve you. Build yourself a kutir so they don't have to bother with you. He chastised him. So he built a little kutir. Next. So he was sitting there in his little kutir looking at those little ponds and thinking, no one comes here. Because they don't know of they would get such great benefit if only there was a way that we could renovate, make a nice pond and a parikram path around it. So he was thinking like that. And being a great Vaishnava, because he'd already been chastised for asking by Sanatana Goswami, I'm thinking about Radha Krishna, serve me. He tried to clear his mind, right? So what's happened next? Simultaneously at Badrinath, up in the Himalayas, this is Badrinath. You can see the elevation there. There was a wealthy merchant. He'd gone to Badrinath. Badri Vatsal is the name of the deity, to offer a very large donation. Okay, next. So this is the town of Badrinath. It's right below the Nilakant for Lord Shiva. Completely sublime place. There's 4 months out of I think it's only 4 months of the year you can get there. Maybe it's 6 months out of the year. The rest of the time it's snowed in. So what? We're going to go a little over. It's amazing thing is it's completely snowed in. They actually moved the deity to a lower elevation. But when they come back, there's ghee lamps, lit ghee lamps. There's flower petals. The devas continued the puja. It's a completely mystical place. The government blocks the road. Next. So this is the temple, Badrinath temple. This is the Badrinarayan Rishi. You can read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Bhagavatam. So this wealthy merchant, he shows up at Badrinath. They're walking. Everybody's walking in those days. That way they're healthy. So he walks there and he goes to offer this large amount of wealth. He had a bear carrying the gold and everything. And the deity says, no, I don't want that. You go to Vrindavan and you give it to Raghunath Das Goswami. He wants to renovate Radhakund Shamakund. So obviously the guy turns around, next, walks to Vrindavan. What's up, my friend? Next. And here's a Google Maps. Here's Badrinath. Here's Vrindavan. 400 miles. He walks with the bears with his gold. He walks and he shows up at Radhakund. Says, please, Badri Vatsal, Badrinath. Badrinath told me to. Raghunath Das says, I can't take any service from Radha and Krishna. I can't take that. The guy, the wealthy merchant, walks back to Badrinath because, you can't take it back. You're giving it to Krishna. He wants to get. He says he won't take it. The deity Badri Vatsal says, I do not want to see you again until Raghunath takes that. He walked all the way back to Vrindavan. Please take it. So he gave the gold. And what happened is that Jiva Goswami had all the deeds for all the Goswami land. He held all those are in the Vrindavan Institute there, right down the road from our Krishna Balaram temple. But he was, he hired the architects. He arranged the whole thing. The wealthy merchant was also a businessman. Because it took a whole lot of picture. They got to dig the whole thing out. You've got to sustain it. Then you got to put the path around. You can put so many different things. A lot of work, a lot of money. So Jiva Goswami oversaw the construction with this wealthy merchant as the agent, and they built Radhakund. Next, Radhakund Shamakund. So I told this story again. Next, go back. This is Krishna and Arjuna, the Badrinarayan Rishi. Next, and that's Vyasadeva. Next. So this is what Govardhana Hill, what Radhakund, this is from 1930. This is what it used to look like. It was all trees and rich merchants. Rupa Goswami had 500 cows. He didn't personally take care of them, but he had a Goshala with 500 cows. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote him a letter and said, so many Vaishnavas, sadhus are coming to take shelter of Vrindavan. I want you to take care of them. So we know how he left with that boatload of gold coins, and he distributed and he kept some for future needs. He had a goshala so that all the sadhus in Vrindavan could get nice, fresh cow's milk. Because he was told by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you please maintain them. Sanatana Goswami used to rain so they could get nice basmati rice to take care of them. Because they're sadhus, they're completely surrendered. And rich merchants all around Radhakund and all the way, well, we'll get into loss in history. But in the 1850s, the British magistrate for the district of Mathura wrote a book. He became a devotee, actually. And he writes all the history of Vrindavan and what it was like in those days. And he describes, again, it's historical. He gives all the, what the national production for that district was, all the different stuff, natural production, all the, everything. He was the governor, like the governor of that district. British guy, Colonel Groves, I think was his name. Anyway, he describes that are all around Radhakund and all along the banks of the Jamuna, all the way to Mathura, which is about 30 miles from Vrindavan as the crow flies. Rich merchants used to plant fruit trees. There were mangoes, there were bananas, there were coconuts, there were pomegranates and Kabuli pomegranates, which use the big size, chiku trees, everything. So all along, any sage could go to anybody's house, beg a few chapatis. He would get milk from whatever arrangement that was there by Rupa Goswami, and he could pick whatever fruit he wanted, so they could just peacefully practice their bhajan. Imagine, Colonel Grove says it was like a manicured garden from Vrindavan all the way to Mathura, both sides of the bank. Imagine what it must have been like. So here's a little sample. Next. So Radhakund, you'll see in a minute, is square. Yeah, that's right. And Shamakund is crooked. Why? Because when they were renovating it, when they were planning the construction, it was proposed that they cut down 5 trees. They had to clear and make the room for it. The night before this was to happen, Raghunath Goswami had a dream. The 5 Pandavas came to him and said, please don't cut us down. We've taken form of these trees so we can witness Radha and Krishna's pastimes. Please stop them from chopping us down. So they built around the trees. Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me, personally, he was at Radhakund. Prabhupada took Shyamasundar and all the devotees on Parikram. When Prabhupada took them to Radhakund, it's hot, they're devotee, they're young devotee. He leaned against this tree. Prabhupada said, don't touch that tree. All right. Prabhupada said, he's a Maharashtra Brahmin who's taken birth to shade the Vaishnavas when they come to Radhakund. You can take the shade, but don't be disrespectful. Prabhupada told him that. So there's so much going on that we don't have the eyes to see, but someday. Next. We're close to the end. So this is an example. Here you see, here's Radhakund is square, here's Shamakund, it's a different shape, and here's a blow-up. This is Radhakund, and this is Shamakund. Right here is the Samadhi of Raghunath Das Goswami, if you want your bearings. This is that, what do they call that? The divide? Sundam? What is it called? Anyway, that's where the 2 ponds meet next. So this is just, it's described that Radhakund and Shamakund are liquid prema. So next. Again, this is Radhakund on this side. This is Shamakund on the other side. Next. This is Raghunath Das Goswami's Samadhi, and this is his sitting place where he used to sit and meditate on Radhakund, Shamakund. Next. This is where Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj was composed. He took all the different Sarup Damodar, it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He kept short sutra notes of all the daily activities and events and meetings and pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das Goswami was the assistant of Sarup Damodar, so he was there witnessing all these things, and he kept voluminous notebooks of all the different, all those things we have in Chaitanya Charitamrita, not all of them, because some come from the Chaitanya Mangala, some come from the notebooks of different sadhus, different associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept Murari Gupta kept a notebook. So Krishnadas Kaviraj took all of those notebooks and put them into the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But he used to sit in the sun, and he describes in Chaitanya he was so old that he didn't know if he'd finish, and he could write for only an hour a day. So this is where he sat and wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita. Next. This I described, and here's how it originally appeared. He wrote on a palm leaf. Next. So here's the verse. I've now become too old and disturbed by invalidity. While writing, my hands tremble. I cannot remember anything, nor can I see or hear properly. Still I write, and this is a great wonder. Next. This is Lord Chaitanya's sitting place. This is where he used to sit. They have many bhajan kutirs and samadhis of our Goswamis, and our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a place there. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a place there. You can see them. You can see their walking stick. There's so many. Next. This is where Jahnavi Ma, the consort of Lord Nityananda, she had a private bathing, chaste. She had a private bathing place. There's steps that go right down into the Kund where she could take a bathe in peace. Next. This is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajan Kutir. Here's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's shoes and his walking stick. Next. And this is the famous place at Radhakund where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I built all these temples and now there's fire in the mat. Everyone's arguing which room they're going to get. I wish I could take the marble from these buildings and print books. And he told Prabhupada, if you ever get money, print books. So that epical, that catalyst for our BBT and book distribution waves around the world, that mantra, that order came here at Radhakund. Next. Okay, next, because we need to move on. We'll go quick. Next. So we were talking about it yesterday. What can we take from Govardhana Hill? What can we take? What is the mood of Vrindavan? God feed me or let me feed God. God give us this day our daily bread, or Mother Yasoda feeding. That's the mood of Braj, that our baby Krishna is dependent on us. Next. I don't want anything. Next. The other thing we can take from this pastime is service to the Lord and to the devotees as exemplified by Govardhana Hill. That's how to attract Krishna's mercy. Next. So there it is. May Lord Giridhari give us all his shelter. I think that's it. Next. Okay, there it is. Thank you, Prabhus. Hare Krishna. All glories to Govardhana Hill, which you all circumambulated yesterday. So all those blessings, all those benedictions, you visited all the holy tirthas, you've been to Mount Kailash, it's all done. Hare Krishna. What's that? We'll see. Hey, Govinda. Thank you very much, Prabhu. What time is it? It's not